Were you two in each other's top 8? I have to ask.
No, not originally.
Tell us your little cute
Yeah.
meat.
Oh. Now, can I ask you this?
Yeah. Oh, flip the script.
I'm learning. This is like a two-way street here.
Oh, yes, please. Ask away.
Experience. Hold on, wait.
Welcome to the Who's Your Daddy podcast, where we work to demystify the process of starting a family through non-traditional means.
From foster to adoption to IVF and surrogacy, come along as we navigate this tricky space on our own journey to fatherhood.
Together, we hope to gain insight and answer as many questions as we can.
We are your hosts and husbands, Michael and Matt, and today we are talking to
Team 2Moms. I know, I was like, is he going to say Denise and Ebony or Team 2Moms?
We're already, oh wow. See, Michael.
We're talking to Denise and Ebony from
Team 2Moms.
Yay!
Love.
Maybe
Yay.
we should have rehearsed.
That was perfect.
Well, typically we do like
She's
a little
lying.
riff in the beginning, and Michael and I are like talking back and forth, and we're warming up, and we're like, okay, yeah, we feel good. This is
No, I
great.
said,
Let's get
let's
into
just
the
jump into
intro.
it.
And then look what happens.
Look what happens. We totally failed that intro.
Oh my God. I am so happy to have you both on the podcast today. We have been following you forever. Your positivity shines through all of your content on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. So we're just excited to talk and dive into IVF and IUI and the process of having children and your experience through that. And we're going to learn a lot.
We're going to learn a lot.
We're going to learn a lot.
Yay! Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having us. We're very excited to be on
Yes.
the podcast. So thank you for the invite. We are.
Oh, absolutely.
And y'all just launched a podcast of your own. Congratulations.
Famous Pro, yes.
I know.
The title, Team2Moms, the podcast. Thank you. Yes, on all streaming platforms. Thank you.
So make sure to go listen to it. Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody listening to our podcast doesn't already know who you are, but go ahead and introduce yourselves, assuming that somebody hasn't already discovered you and all of your wonderfulness.
Oh, stop. Thank you. I'm blushing. Stop. Men are making me blush.
I know, right? I was like,
Thank
funny.
you. Hi, everyone. I am Ebony,
And I'm Denise.
and we are Team
Team
2
2
Moms.
Moms.
We have 3 amazing children.
We have
Um,
Olivia, she's 11, and then we have twin boys who just turned 6.
Yes, Jaden and Lucas, and we've been creating content online for, gosh, I'm gonna say
Very
over a
long
decade.
Yes.
Just normalizing LGBTQ plus parenting and just spreading positive energy and light into this crazy world. And that's pretty much a little summary of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And where are you based?
We are based in Georgia, but we are from New York.
We've been in Georgia for 2 years now.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Awesome.
Oh, okay.
Wow. So it was like
Very
semi-recent, the
recent,
move.
very recent. So definitely our experience is all based in New York. Definitely very different. We're originally from the Bronx. So
Mhm. That's where we met.
yes, that's where we met. So
That's what I was just going to ask. How did you meet? Tell us your little
Yeah.
cute meet.
oh.
We tell this story all the time. We met on
You
MySpace.
can do a synopsis.
MySpace. I mean,
Wait, what?
like, if you know, that's really exposing our age, but we met on
MySpace.
one of the original social media platforms called MySpace. Pretty much, she hit me up in my DMs. We didn't call it sliding in the DMs back
We
then.
didn't.
You just sent me a message.
I was like, and then
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
will you be my friend? And then the rest is history.
Yeah, literally.
Really?
Oh my
How?
God.
I do not even remember how you discovered people on MySpace.
I
Was it
remember
like friends of
clicking.
friends?
I remember
You
clicking around
could
profiles.
Literally put and search people by zip codes.
Oh.
Yes.
Like a phone book.
Yes, and you can put like the mile radius and everything, like how far out.
That's how I found her. I put like within 2 miles in the Bronx.
Yeah.
It's like
Oh my God. It's like,
pre-grinder.
yeah, it's like Grinder for friends. It's like Grinder. Oh my
But it was
God.
so awesome awesome because like you could change your background, put a little
Yeah.
on there.
You had your top
Tom, your
8.
friend.
You had your
Mhm.
Tom was everyone's friend.
Were you two in each other's top 8? I have to ask.
No, not originally. Actually, I feel like right after we met, we wasn't on MySpace anymore.
We weren't anymore.
Oh.
We started to transition to Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Got
that's
it.
changing more
That
into
was
Facebook.
cool.
Yeah, but yeah, that's how she. Well, we were both in relationships,
So it was a little messy. in the beginning.
Oh, I get excited hearing about this. I'm like, yes.
We were the team.
Yeah.
We were in relationships. We were respectable for quite some time, but I think we both were having our own separate issues that was just drawing us closer together.
Mhm.
And then we realized, like, I think we like each other. A little bit different.
Yeah.
And it was rough.
It was very rough.
In the beginning.
I ended up dropping out of college at the time because
She had a crazy ex. If you hear it, I said it. She had a crazy ex.
Uh-huh.
Oh no.
It was like, if you're not going to be with me, you're going to be miserable.
No.
That's how we started.
That's
She
the
even like
worst.
offered like a throuple type of thing. That's not going to work.
Yeah, no, that wasn't going to fly with me.
Oh no.
We
you
get
do not
closer
need
through
that.
hardships. It's true.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
understand that.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was our test. Literally, the first year of our relationship, we've been together for about 17, 18 years now. And the first year
I'm
was
starting to
the
lose
hardest
count.
year. Yeah. We've been together for a very long time.
Very long time.
And that was definitely our test.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
we went through that, and
Yeah.
here we are. It was the right move to be together, clearly.
And Ebony, you're a scientist, and Denise, you're an engineer.
By trade, yes.
Yeah. So
Oh, amazing.
originally, like, I had to drop out of school because of the drama, but she enrolled me back into college.
Mhm.
She was just like, tomorrow's your orientation. I was just like, my orientation? For
Whoa.
what? And I went to orientation, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have gotten my bachelor's. I already had my associates at the time, but I got my bachelor's in computer and electrical engineering.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's incredible.
Congrats.
I have my degree in forensic science. I worked as a forensic scientist for about 6 years for the New York City Police Department.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
Then when I became with child, I had to find a new profession because it was
Sure.
definitely very challenging to work within that field.
Yeah.
I became a mom. I was, privy to a lot of things, saw a lot of things, and I just had to switch professions. So
Yeah.
like the first year of when Olivia was born, that's when I retired and just was a stay-at-home mom. And then I transitioned to patient advocacy and did that for about
wow.
another 5 years. And now I'm a full-time creator.
Yay. Oh my gosh. So you met about 17, 18 years ago, and Olivia is, did you say 11 now?
Yes, she's
Yeah.
11.
So we
Okay, so we're
started on YouTube when Olivia was 1.
Mm-hmm.
yes. So I went all the way back. I went all the way back.
Before.
He's like a forensic scientist for social media.
Well, I mean, I think Matthew still has videos online from probably what,
2007.
2007, 2008, right? So that's like
The second gen YouTubers.
that's like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like completely different
I've-
world.
Now been on YouTube longer than I haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
In life. I have been on YouTube longer than I haven't.
Millennial story. I
That
don't
is
know what
so
it is.
bizarre.
OGs. We have the OGs here.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did the family discussion come up? Like, was it pretty early on that you guys started talking about having a family? Was it like one of you was sort of more interested than the other, or how did that discussion come up?
Yeah.
Bingo. When you talk about, so Olivia's 11, so really it was like 12 or 13 years ago for
Mhm.
us. It was a totally different time. We didn't see
Yeah.
much representation, and I don't think the possibilities was ever seeded into our minds. I just knew physically I wanted to experience carrying and being pregnant and becoming a mom, where Denise,
I had no idea it was even possible. I never saw 2-mom family before.
you didn't
Not
want to be
even
pregnant.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be pregnant at the time, so I was just quite confused with this conversation that we started. She was just like, I really want kids. And I'm like, I've never envisioned this. Tell me more.
Wow.
Yeah.
She
And
introduced-
it like I got the bug right, like I think the day after we got married.
Really?
Once we accomplished that, I was like, oh, okay, so I'm ready to be a mom because I'm married now.
Yeah.
Right? You want to start a family. Some married people want to do. You want to start a family. So I literally, probably within that week of newlywedness, was like, we need to figure this out.
Denise, was that something that you were like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah, I was just like, wait, what? Is this something, I've never thought about children. And then we started to talk to your gynecologist.
Yeah, I had a very, very close relationship with my doctor. And, I asked her, I was like, how do we do this?
Yeah.
And she was very forthcoming with so much information. She was like, oh, okay, this has been done before. You're not the first.
Right.
She said it's very much so possible. You would just go through fertility treatments. And she just referred us to a fertility clinic that she had a relationship with that physician. And that's how we embarked on our journey and started there. Now, with my scientific mind, I did a lot of my own separate research, more specifically about the anatomy of my body and what it takes. It was very intense. It was I was using apps. I was documenting all types of temperatures with my body. I was doing.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to figure out when I ovulate. I wanted to know my body inside and out because it's such an investment. To go through this process. And I felt like if I go into this knowing more about my body itself, because it was a no-brainer. I knew it was going to be me who carries first because she did not have the desire.
I was just like,
no
right.
desire. So I began this 3-month journey of just figuring out my ovulation cycle, my body, and all types of things. And I got it down to a science in my mind.
Yeah, I remember the morning she'll be like, I can't move yet. Go get this and this and this and that. I remember what it was. It was like these.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
They teach. There's a lot of things about the female body that I learned about, how the temperature of your body fluctuates during different times of your cycle, and I knew through that.
So checking the temperature was a way of being able to see where you're at on your cycle.
Plus using an ovulation kit that tests.
And did you see that trend?
I did.
Wow.
The first month was a little wonky. And then the second month, I started to see a pattern. And by the third month confirmed what I assumed in the second month. And then we were good to go.
Do you remember what the temperature fluctuation was throughout the cycle? Was it
I
higher?
can't remember the correlation. I can't remember if your temperature drops suddenly, that's the day you ovulate, or if it increases. That's the day you ovulate. But then you couple that with a lot of other different things. There's things your body secretes that looks a certain way to let you know that you're close to ovulation. So I was tracking that. It's called your cervical mucus. And then I was doing the ovulation test that looks like a pregnancy test, but it's for ovulation. I was doing some hardcore research to the point.
I just find that fascinating.
I even researched fertility medication because I did not originally want to take so many different medications because I didn't feel as though I was sitting there because I had a fertility issue other than the fact that I don't have a male partner.
Correct. Correct.
Went into this thinking I can get pregnant. So please do not let's not start so invasive and so expensive.
And I love that she was vocal about that part because I was just like, I'm learning too as we going.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Her just saying to the lady, this is what I want to do. I was just like, wow.
Okay. I even set the medication I want to be on, how much I want to be on.
Yeah.
I literally, I know, I want to do I just need your assistance, doctor, because I can't
Right?
So I think maybe like the public that doesn't have to worry about fertility might not know that like if that you can't just like go buy donor sperm and then just like
do it.
you know use it when you ovulate. But sometimes you can.
You can.
But can you talk a little bit about like but there are medications that will increase your fertility or like help.
Increase
Can you
the
speak a
chances.
little bit to that? Because I think like even I haven't. I mean, I don't have those parts, so I didn't do all the research. That you need medication even to do like IUI essentially is what we're talking about.
Correct. Because what you're doing, since you already are in a controlled environment, you want to make it as optimal to get pregnant. So there's medication that makes your eggs more bigger in size and more likely to fertilize with your donor sperm. Well, for us, it was donor sperm. So I was on medication specifically and only to make my eggs grow large enough that when I ovulate and when they drop down, they will be an optimal size for fertilization. So I didn't want to be on too much medication because then you have the opposite problem when your eggs get too large and then they're not able to fertilize you, because now that's a whole different concern and worry. You might fertilize too many. There's a happy medium in the middle.
Oh, wow.
But that's why we went to a facility to monitor the medication, because there are people that do it at home, that do home insemination, and sometimes money gets in the way. But when you do it in a facility, it's great that they have
that controlled environment to monitor everything, to make sure they're not giving you too much medication or too little medication. And they even gave me a medication that would induce ovulation. So if I take this shot on day, I think we ovulate like on the 16th. So if I took it like on the 14th, in 2 days, I would ovulate. But I declined that because I felt like, again, I don't want to be on so much medication. And at least for my first round, and for me, I was willing to do more rounds if it didn't work. I wanted to be just less induced in medication. I wanted to see what my body can do on its own. And because I had did all of these calculations, I knew day 16 in my cycle is when I ovulate. So day 16 is when I say, well, that's when we're going to do the IUI.
Right.
So, I'm coming in on this date.
Did they give you a discount for all this research?
No.
They should have.
You're like, I went to school.
They were
you.
very impressed.
Yes, very
That's
impressed.
awesome.
Just very helpful, and was just like, yeah, she knows what she wants to do, and so we're just here to aid through the process. I also think the fertility clinic was very excited to have a same-sex couple too, because again, it wasn't as common during that time. But
This is 2014.
This was because we had Olivia in 2011, so it was
2011. Okay.
It was around 2010 that we were going through this. So for them, they were very excited to see a couple like us. Since it's in New York, it's a little bit liberal there. It's way more liberal than in some other states. But we just had so much support from them. And I went in on that day that I felt like I was ovulating. They did the IUI and came back for the blood test, which was like the 2-week wait, which is extremely dreadful. But I remember 9 days past ovulation, DPO, 9 days past ovulation, I took an at-home pregnancy test and I saw that faint line. And I was just like,
wow.
I was like, oh my gracious stars.
It didn't hit me until we saw the sonogram, the ultrasound with her little heartbeat. Like,
oh my God.
It's like really small little thing, and you're like, whoa, how did we do that?
That's amazing.
But then we got there. They confirmed it with the blood test. My numbers are doubling what they want to see and everything. But then my entire pregnancy just went. the experience went downhill.
Yeah.
Very
Really?
Yes, I
Yeah,
was
she was sick. Really
so I mean brutally sick throughout the pregnancy. So bad that in my first trimester I was ready to I had thoughts of terminating the pregnancy because
Oh my
I
Oh,
was
wow.
God.
so
Mhm.
sick. I can't even express enough how sick I was. But my wife being the supportive,
I
amazing
tried
partner.
everything. I remember going to the pharmacy, getting ginger, candies,
Hmm.
anything that would help. I remember the
Mhm.
bands, just to
Mhm.
help with the nausea.
And then that's when we discovered I had fibroids.
Mhm.
Fibroids are these
Oh.
masses in your uterus that grows, and I didn't know they were there until I got pregnant because the hormones made them grow larger. So it felt like I was pregnant with
Oh.
multiples.
Yeah, multiples.
It was just constant.
They were
pain.
growing with
Just like a consistent amount of pain, bloating,
Like,
pressure.
I couldn't sit, I couldn't lay, like
Oh my God.
pain.
And then as Olivia was growing, you could see that Olivia was like literally leaning
on the fibroids, and I was
What?
Does that affect the pregnancy? The fibroids or?
very much so. It takes a lot of, because what makes fibroids grow is the blood source that you're like, it's like the hormones in the blood source. So it's taking a lot of the resources from my baby. Like it's just pulling all the energy,
Oh.
taking it all for themselves, and they're just growing concurrently. They see her as like the foreign body inside of me when really they are the ones. And it was just a really tough pregnancy. Tough, very tough.
The symptoms, when did they start kicking in after like you got pregnant and then it was?
I would say when I graduated from I call it graduated, make it feel like you graduated from the fertility clinic to just a regular OBGYN. Once I made that transition, which was about 8 or 10 weeks, that's when everything was
And the symptoms, it was just all like a lot of nausea, a lot of vomiting, morning sickness, all that.
She actually lost weight.
I lost 30 pounds.
What?
Lost 30 pounds during my
No way.
30 pounds?
That's why I only have one photo of me pregnant because
She didn't want to take
No way.
I didn't. And this is like before being on social media. You know, you have a different mind as a creator, right? But
Yeah.
I want nobody to have any documentation of my pregnancy.
Oh my God.
Did you ever have to go in and like get IV like nutrients or hydration or anything because of it?
They never gave us an option. And then on top of that, I had really bad allergies, and you couldn't take allergy medication when you're pregnant.
Yeah,
so I was just like
miserable.
I was miserable. I was
Oh my gosh.
Oh
And did it last through the whole, like all the way until
the full term? Full term.
That would be enough for me not to want to have.
Oh my God.
That would be enough. Like going through that is just
Full
wow.
entire pregnancy. I think
That's really hard.
very hard. I remember one good day where I had a meal and it actually stayed down. And I know the exact meal, where I was, and everything. So one good meal out of my whole entire pregnancy. But again, I lost 30 pounds.
So Michael and I were talking about this beforehand of just like the process of pregnancy and what it's like. And Michael's like, well, I know, like, I don't need to know anything more about that. I have
No,
6
not
sisters
that.
and 23 nieces and nephews. And I'm like, I have one brother. I know nothing about pregnancy.
Yeah, so I have 23, soon to be 24
24
nieces and nephews because
Do not.
I do.
Yeah.
Because I have 6 sisters and 1 brother.
Oh,
so I have a huge family.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, you know, I've seen, you know, multiple family members be pregnant for, you know, and have different experiences and, you know, that sort of thing. So, you know what though? I have not heard of any of them having fibroids. So, you know, we can always learn something new.
Yes.
And that
absolutely.
sounds uncomfortable.
I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone. Oof, on anyone at all. It's horrible. But when Olivia was born,
Yay!
I I know, like the good part.
It made up. It was worth.
And Olivia knows this whole story.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, it was worth. It's actually 10 months. It was worth all 40 weeks. Well, she came
Jeez.
at 39 weeks. I had to be induced because there was concerns with Olivia's sides and all this stuff, which we've touched upon that, where she has a medical condition that was like correlated to the pregnancy as well. So, but yeah, it was all worth it at the end.
That's awesome.
She gave us the greatest role in life, which is being moms.
And seeing her birth, now we can seeing her birth made me want to have babies.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So that kind of like inspired you to think about like, okay, I can do this. I think I want to give it a go.
Yeah.
And you guys had a very you took a lot of time to choose your sperm donor, correct? Or like you're very kind of like particular about it?
I was very particular about it in the sense that we wanted that physical characteristics of both of us. And since I was carrying, that means I needed to find a Puerto Rican donor. And
there weren't many.
There were not many at all. But we found one that was, I mean, it's funny. You're like reading these pages filled with information of somebody. You don't even really know what they look like because they don't have an adult photo.
They don't give you photos?
A baby photo.
Well, he was like,
they give you a baby photo.
He was like two, maybe.
He was probably like 2
What?
years old. Yeah.
So there's no like photos of them as an adult?
Interesting.
No.
We have no idea how old he is.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Because
for egg donors, we get a whole profile. You see all these photos. You see photos of their family. You see photos of them. You see photos of their children if they have any. They answer like a whole essay, like all these questions.
It could have changed.
Yeah,
but like, holy crap.
Maybe, but I know back then for sure, no. We heard his voice because they had him answer a few questions, but we have no idea. We saw his silhouette, which is just
his occupation.
His silhouette.
And it's literally just
a black silhouette.
Black silhouette.
Oh my God.
That is not much info to go off of.
No.
We know his height and his occupation.
We knew family history.
We don't know where he lives.
No. We don't know none of that.
Right.
But we did know the family history, genetics, all that stuff. What he's a carrier of.
Conditions and stuff.
That we didn't know. But, back then, just to find a donor that was of Puerto Rican descent was just like, okay. There we go.
But honestly, the baby picture really was what was like, whoa, yes.
That sealed it.
Yeah.
Sealed it, yeah.
Because he looked similar to
me when I was young.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's awesome.
So that's how we chose the donor. Yeah, that's how. And then fast forwarding on the topic of donor, we decided that with having more children, and then it switched to her carrying, because we get asked a lot, like, why didn't we then find an African-American donor when she decided she wanted to carry?
Yeah. Did you do the same sperm donor?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
We just used the same donor. And for us, it was more about when we have all of our offspring, because we were manifesting that she was going to get pregnant. We didn't think twins, but when we manifested, we said, because we had chosen a donor where your offspring can find out his identity, meet him
18.
When they turn 18, I wanted it to be a journey where they're looking for one person.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a journey where we're searching for more than one donor. Being biologically related felt right at the time, but now to us doesn't matter anymore. But at that time, it felt like, okay, at least they'll have this connection there for sure. And then you start thinking, as a parent in an LGBTQ plus relationship, there's a lot of different hurdles and challenges and questions that your children may have. So we try to think about what are like ways to alleviate some of those challenges.
Sure.
And for us at that time, it felt like, okay, if we use the same donor, they'll go on it together. So when Olivia would be 18 before the boys, they don't gotta worry, because now they know. They all will know at the same exact time, and that's how.
It's interesting because it's like the opposite it's just like this, it's like the same thing that we're sort of
Right.
doing, just with the different parts, right? So like you have eggs and then use the same sperm donor, and we have sperm and use the same egg donor.
I do have a question on that though. Like, do they, when you're going through this, did they give you the option of sperm donors that their identity right away, or was it just all anonymous and no option?
Oh, none.
I don't know. I don't. I'm curious now to check the website.
I am curious now.
No, yeah. But that's a big difference, because for us it was like, okay, do you want an egg donor that you know the identity of, or do you want an egg donor that you won't know the identity of?
So when you say the identity of, meaning like your offspring can find out the identity, or you will know this person's name, what they look like,
both and
before.
Both
and.
Yes, and. So both of those options. You can have the option of meeting your egg donor and knowing who they are.
Which is kind of rare, but
which is rare.
That's what we did.
Okay. Now, can I ask you this?
Flip the script.
I'm learning. This is like a two-way street here.
Oh, yes, please.
It's an amazing experience. Hold on, wait. Is there a price difference? In regards to like anonymous versus when they turn 18 versus you can know right now, because there was a price difference for just that little aspect.
That's interesting that you say that, because I was listening to a podcast that mentioned that there was a price difference between anonymity and non-anonymity.
Well, we didn't know that
for sperm donors.
Oh, interesting.
But for us, for the egg donor, it was like, okay. Well, first of all, a lot of times people will go in and they'll just like look at the photos, look at the profiles, look at the family history, all of that. And then, but for us, we were like, can we like talk to them? Like,
I wanted to get an idea of their personality.
And they were like, I mean, we can ask. So then we started with like Zoom calls, and we did like 2 Zoom calls. And the second one that we had, like, I just felt very connected, and she was like so warm. And on that call, it was like, are you guys open? Are you guys wanting it to be closed, or open? Essentially, we're like, once the eggs are donated, then like, there's no contact, there's no like info really.
Right. There's no info exchange.
Do you want it to be open in the sense where like, we will funnel information about, like your surrogate's pregnancy and when the babies are born, like through the agency, then on to the egg donor. And so we were like, honestly, we're kind of like open to either. And she was like, I was kind of hoping for an open, because I think, she was like, I wanted to see, essentially a potential other like offspring that has my genetics.
And we both kind of like started crying.
Yeah. And then we were both like, okay, that sounds great. We're not necessarily completely isolated people who we're like rather public with our life, so it's like, for us, I think it maybe is a little bit more natural to think that way, or just be like, well, if you could find us on social media and like follow the children as they're like growing up anyway, so like what's the difference between that and then them being able to like, no,
I don't know. But then like afterwards, I did have a bunch of doubts and second guessing like our own decision of meeting the egg donor, because then I'm starting to realize like, oh my God, we just made this big decision that we don't know the ramifications of that 5 years, 10 years down the line. Like when our child is asking about their birth mother, like what information are we going to give them? Do we want to be making those decisions right now in this period of our life? Like we don't know what we're doing. So I had kind of like these doubts and questions come up, and I think I came to a point where I was at peace about it. I'm like, okay, we did it, we met her, she's fantastic, and what am I afraid of? My children are going to love me no matter what. And
and totally.
And for us to know their birth mother, I think is a privilege and something that is great. So like, at least, I don't know, down the line, like if they ask about it, when they do, I can tell them and say, yes, like I know who your birth mother is, or not your birth mother, your genetic mother is.
Do you have any advice on like,
Yes.
do you know what age do those questions start coming up? Like, I'm assuming you guys have obviously bridged that at this point.
Firstly, I think what you guys did is amazing. Like
Yeah.
for us, when we made the decision of like how far, like, do we want to go anonymous? So that's all we had was anonymous or non-anonymous. Was we wanted there to be the optimal amount of options for our children to make the decision for themselves.
Ugh,
We did not want to
that's good.
be the decision makers for them. So for us, that meant
I
we
love
had to
that.
find somebody that would give them the option. That was important, to not take that away from them. And we respect those who doesn't want to live, and the parents make that decision.
Oh, totally.
That's
Yeah.
also great. But for us, we wanted them to have the option. Now, only our oldest, Olivia, is in that realm of really understanding that there's
Correct.
somebody genetically out there who helped create her. And to be honest with you, we still do not have the answers in what's the right timing, because she's at an age where she'll either ask us questions or she cares not to know. So we're at her pace in regards to what she wants to know, how much she wants to know. When we did start, telling her, like when she learned just in school, just the analogy of that, what it takes to make a baby, like, it's genetically male and female, and she sees she has two moms. Yes, she had those curiosities. She kind of like approached us and kind of a bit of some curiosity there. And Denise and I literally we actually created content as a spoof, but it's really how we felt. It felt like, oh my gosh, it's time. What are we supposed
I saw that.
Holy moly.
How do we talk about this?
We're still in that boat of just.
So it's a little bit new.
It's new.
It's a learning
for you guys at 11, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 11.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's also at the age where she's like, I don't really care to know, but I know she will eventually, for sure.
And
yeah,
I think the only question I've gotten recently from Lucas is how different families are. So like, he's like, so I have two moms, but there's also parents with like, two dads and stuff like that, or like a single mom. Like he made that note to me, but no question directly about the donor yet with him.
And it's going to be probably a totally different experience, because now these are our sons, and they might have a different experience from how Olivia may feel. So we're still in that boat of navigation, of explaining to our children. And I think our biggest, if we were to give anyone advice, is to just be honest with them when they ask questions, and don't be afraid to let them know things. Like, you want to be the first to kind of explain things, especially in the age of social media where things are just so easy to like look up and find. We have a whole collection of videos of things we talked about before she probably even understood it, and she could find those now. Like, we just want to be able to have like those conversations with her, and for her to know she can. That our feelings won't be hurt. We are so secure that you love us. We're your moms. We're your parents. Please feel this is a safe space. You can come to us if at any point you want to meet him, you want to know more about him, you're feeling like a part of you is missing, or maybe you don't. Like, I just want her to know she can have those
I just feel like a lot of her questions start off by like a question a friend may have asked in school. And that's
sure. Yeah.
That illuminates the bulb in her head. Like, oh, my friend asked me that. Oh, that's a great question. Let me ask my mom. So yeah.
Yeah.
This will be so good.
School is fun, y'all.
Right. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to hear you guys talk more about that, like in the future too, of just like navigating that stuff so that we can like
school stuff.
Learn.
My God.
Oh yeah. I mean, some of the stuff that like even my nieces and nephews, I think, hear from their friends at school that are totally unrelated to like, the sexuality of their parents or whatever. I'm just like, oh boy, like your parents did not teach you that. You learned that at school for sure. Like, wow.
That's so true.
Olivia is born. Everything is going wonderfully. We have, the first child
Yes.
to building your family.
Yes,
How
I
do
definitely want to talk
you-
about IVF.
How do
and
you
all of the things.
Yes, Denise, how did that come up for you? I mean, obviously you said when Olivia was born, that sort of like was inspirational for you.
Mhm.
And then how did that kind of progress forward?
Kind of took the same road. We went to the doctor, and then we went to the fertility place.
What happened was we had moved out of the city. So the foundation we had already built with
different
conceiving Olivia, we had to kind of start anew in this new location of where we were at. And luckily,
This is upstate New York?
Upstate New York.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we're fast forwarding 5 years. So things are a little bit more progressive now.
Sure.
And
it was way different.
we had there was another couple that lived where we lived that used the same facilities and gave us advice and was telling us like, oh, you should go and start your journey here. I was already working in a hospital as a patient advocate. So I
Mhm.
knew
Oh,
a
okay,
whole
yeah.
bunch of physicians and nurses, and they knew our family dynamics
Oh,
and
that's
our
great.
structure. So we actually had more support.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Came time for
And then I remember the consultation, and then the way our plan was to take it IUI, because like Ebony, I didn't have any concerns at the time,
Yeah.
Right.
but we wanted to do IUI.
You did 5 IUIs.
Yes.
Throughout I'm going to talk to her journey because she was having out of body experiences because
It
she
was really
went through
hard.
a lot.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Overall, I
god.
had 7 failed attempts.
6
Whoa.
Failed attempts.
6
Whoa.
failed attempts. So 5 IUIs. And we had 2 IVFs. The last IVF cycle is
Yes,
the twins.
the last one was
It's the
okay.
twins.
Oh my gosh.
Now, during her IUI, the reason why we transitioned to IVS, we was at the 5th. At that
Mhm.
point, I think at the time they were like, after 5 tries, at this point, you should just try IVF. But there were things that were concerning with her cervix that they felt like the IUIs were not working. It was called cervical stenosis.
Okay.
Sure.
And there were pileups. I remember the
She had
pileups.
polyps.
I had multiple procedures done to see if they could clear it up. The stenosis was there was multiple procedures, like 3 procedures overall.
Yes.
Jeez.
And it was just
IVF.
And all this is costly at a certain
Right.
point. It's like,
wow, you're like, wow.
woo.
Not only financially, but also emotionally, physically.
Is IUI
exhausting.
an all out of pocket expense? Like, is there a medical coverage for it?
Times have changed. I
Oh,
can't speak to now because I do know a lot of couples who work at Starbucks where they cover the entire
Oh
journey.
yeah, I heard about
You
that.
need to work at Starbucks.
In our time, because we presented as a 2-mom family, the insurance companies didn't see it a medical necessity.
I know.
Until you pass 5 IUI. So everything for my pregnancy in trying to conceive was cash. We had to pay out of pocket.
Sure.
There was no concern. With her, the insurance said, well, after 5 attempts, then that is deemed medically necessary, and now we'll start to cover costs.
Jeez.
And then it wasn't even the cost of the actual IVF. It was cost for blood tests, urine samples.
It didn't cover much.
It didn't cover much. It didn't cover the meat and potatoes. It was
Right. Yeah.
Oh wow.
The actual expensive stuff. Yeah.
But that transition from IUI to IVF was intense because the amount of medications that you have to take for IVF, I didn't expect that. I would just, I have to take what and monitor what. I'm not used to that. But luckily, I have a scientist as a wife that will help me with everything. And literally, I would rely on her to give me my shots. That I remember one time she wasn't around and I'm panicking like, who's going to give me this shot? I think her mother had to come over to give me the shot. I don't remember. I felt super proud after it because I was like, I never thought I would be going through all of this to have a baby. At the time, it was just like, wow, I have to go through all this.
Yeah.
But I went through all the surgeries, all of the medications, going under multiple times.
Wow.
And then our first IVF, it was a miscarriage.
It was a fair,
And that was very hard on me.
Yeah.
Because at this time, I already had the IUI, and I was just like, oh, it's gonna work. I had high hopes. I remember going to work. I was working in corporate America, and I remember going to the bathroom multiple times and testing myself without like letting my wife know. And it wasn't positive, and then that gut wrenching feeling of, wow, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get pregnant and stuff. We find out that I'm not pregnant. So now we was like, let's do a second attempt. And
she had two more embryos left.
Two more embryos left.
Oh, so you had 3? Did you have 4 or 3 total?
4 total.
So you transferred twins or like 2 at the beginning, the failed one, and then you had 2 left.
Full disclosure,
oh my God,
currently have 5.
Yeah.
but similar circumstance of like 4 embryos, 5 embryos, starting at that, and then it is a little bit gut wrenching to be like, okay.
Oh my gosh, because you went through all of those procedures for like months.
How many months was this?
Wow.
Or years even.
Probably a year. And then there was a difference to me. I don't know. This is just my own little thing, but my scientist brain. When she did the IVF, the first round, it was considered a fresh transfer. So the embryos were never frozen. And then her second round of IVF, they were frozen. For some reason, I just felt like it was just better for it to kind of like sit there than be the fresh version of the embryos. I truly, through some literature that I read, they said is a little bit more of a higher chance if you use frozen embryos versus fresh embryos.
What?
Yeah, she had forwarded me the.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that either.
I thought it was I thought it would be the opposite.
I would think that
fresh, right? Frozen.
Yeah, that's what we're taught.
Fresh food. You want to,
yeah.
There's this notion of fresh versus frozen.
No, yeah, she sent me the article, and I was like, oh, okay.
But when we were in the office for the final transfer, the 7th try, she looked at me.
And I said, this is it.
This is it.
I'm not going to try anymore. If it sticks, it sticks. If it doesn't stick, I can't put my body through this. I had gained a lot of weight, and I just was feeling uncomfortable with my body because, like I'm what you say, masculine presenting, and my boobs were beyond what I wanted, and my body was changing, and I was disappointed with not being pregnant.
Oh my God.
It was like an emotional roller coaster.
Wow.
Basically 6 rounds of hormones, 6 rounds of injections, 6 rounds of all of that time, energy.
Yeah.
Both of you kind of like went through it, and like getting to the point of pregnancy, that is a lot. That's hard.
So much investment.
But then the birth happened.
We're over here like just trying to process a journey that's not ours, but just like trying to like go through it in our brains. And you guys are like, no, but it's fine. We're here. We're good.
I love it.
And we kind of felt like it took right away because the numbers. It was something about she was monitoring the numbers and they were double.
The HCG.
The HCG.
The HCG was.
And she was like, "Whoa, I think."
Yeah, because as we learn along the way,
when you have multiples, it doesn't really hit you till they're actually born. I don't know. I had a hard time with like telling myself I have 2 in there.
I got 2 in the oven.
2 in there.
You're like, can they? How did they fit in
there?
Do
you have any? Like,
how come I only feel 1 and I don't feel 5?
Oh, yeah. That's what I was gonna ask. Was there any like perception of being able to feel one kick versus the other one kick, or was it just kind of like all just there
the whole time? The whole time.
I think because you didn't know what a singleton
I didn't know.
felt
I don't know the feeling of just one.
So it was like,
So it's possible one was moving and then the other one moved, like, you know, they were just taking turns, but I wouldn't know. Only when we did the sonogram, because the sonogram was like super clear. And that's when I saw both of them and I was just like, oh, there's two of them. There's two of them.
But then, let me tell you, her pregnancy was no joke, because it first started with when you have to do these genetic testings when you're pregnant. And the next thing you know, we're on this like ultimate high of like, wow, we're having twins, right?
Yeah.
And then the genetic testing comes back and we're sitting in front of a genetic counselor and she's like, the results came back and it looks like twin B may have Down syndrome. And it was like first that, followed by, here are your options. We can do further testing to get confirmation. We can do another blood test, but that's not as definitive. There's another test that we can do where we would stick a needle in your belly, but then there's a high chance that you can miscarry.
Right.
Wow.
Or thirdly, you can do selective reduction.
Right.
What?
Yeah.
I was bawling my eyes out. I'm just like, I went through all this, and this is like, this felt like.
But there's, and I think you were bawling your eyes out because it's like there's this stigma, like, okay,
why do I have to terminate? Like,
right.
Why are we putting that label? All right, if my baby may have Down syndrome, okay, we're gonna
I know.
Yeah.
we're gonna do this. What are you trying to say? You know, so it's just like a roller coaster. And then she got so sick as well.
Oh no, the same like timeline or like
No.
Mine.
Oh gosh.
You had
preeclampsia. I had gestational diabetes.
The whole gamut.
Oh no, gestational diabetes is bad enough.
Right?
No chocolate cake. You know, you can't have any sweets or anything like that. It's a huge like diet change.
I had to be on a diet, so like insulin, and I had to be on the insulin, which was horrible.
Oh, and then preeclampsia can get pretty serious.
Preeclampsia can be very serious, and it can lead to I can't think of my words. Premature birth. It can lead to premature birth because preeclampsia, if the blood pressure gets too high, then it's like, okay, we got to take the baby now.
Right.
So that's a pretty serious issue, and it can get really bad and be super dangerous to the babies as well.
How long were you able to carry the twins?
Till 36 weeks.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Yeah.
Wow. With all of that. Wow.
I kept saying, wow, you did really good.
Was this a lot of extra monitoring? Did you have to go in for a lot of extra appointments, etc., as they're kind of like monitoring?
With Lucas.
The
fluid in his brain. I had to undergo an MRI while being pregnant.
Oh wow.
Not fun. Because it was like, so 2 hours. Was it 2 or 4 hours? It was 4 hours.
It was a very
long time. So they put me in 2 hours. Then they said the babies are moving too much, so we got to give you sleepy medicine. Gave me sleepy medicine. I think I was more drowsy than the babies because they were moving around a lot. Take me out another 2 hours to give me more medicine to try to put the babies to sleep. And put me back again for 2 hours. It was like a whole day. They had me in there pretty much all day, from the morning to like the evening.
I had another question with the genetic testing. They did the transfer and then they did genetic testing after the transfer, after everything was there, and then they're like, we think there's
testing on her, because between having Olivia and her journey, we found out that the donor is a carrier for a gene for a likelihood that if you have this same gene, you'll have an offspring that is deaf. So once the fertility clinic knew that, we could not use the donor until they did genetic testing with her to make sure she didn't have a dominant or even a recessive gene for the specific gene. So that was the only genetic testing. There was the option, but that was another price tag.
Yeah. That insurance is not covering.
I'm like, straight people don't do all this, you know?
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. But then what happened with that? Because they did the genetic testing and then they somehow thought that there was possibility of Down syndrome, and then what happened? How did they
We just
progress from
ignored
there?
it.
I think we end up just ignoring it.
Ignored it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pregnancy.
I can't remember, but I know I was emotional about it, but I was just like, we're gonna do whatever, whatever it takes. I'm not sure if the MRI gave us a little bit of
Relief.
clarity, but it was to the point where they still had to monitor him.
One thing that I wanted to touch on, I didn't want to forget, was so both of these births, Ebony's and Denise, you both gave birth in New York, correct?
Yes.
And then you had to do a second parent adoption, or
No, we didn't.
how does that work?
So, second parent adoption was not even a thought in our minds living in New York at all. From the moment Olivia was born 11 years ago, she was on the birth certificate.
Wow.
New York was
that's
very
insane. That's amazing.
Yes, they were very, very progressive for same-sex families. The only thing that New York had was when we got married, we had to go out of state to get our marriage license in a state that legalized same-sex marriage. And then New York had a law where they will recognize it, but they don't actually perform same-sex legalized marriages at that time. It changed. It changed before it became legally federally.
Got it.
So once we had proof that we were married, that gave her right away to be on the birth certificate with no questions asked when I gave birth to Olivia.
So the state's like, we're not gonna marry you.
No.
But
you
you get married
on the birth
somewhere
certificate.
else.
Yes.
You can be on the birth certificate.
We will honor it. Yes. When you come back.
Just pass a law so that we can get married in New York. How about that?
Yes. Yeah.
The birth certificate laws in the U.S. still it's crazy from state to state. The differences.
But did anything change after marriage equality, or did that just make it like easier, like nationwide? Like you weren't worried that if you were in a state.
I mean, now that we're in Georgia, which is a less progressive state, it definitely didn't change anything with having all three kids in New York. We're both on each other's birth certificate. All the kids are birth certificate. Both of our names are there. I think they just distinguish between the birth mom. So literally the section says birth mom. So you know which one actually gave birth. But other than that, the only reason why we now need to do second adoption is just the overall state of our political world here, where we're seeing so many things being overturned that our former leaders have worked so hard to instate that are being taken away. So you don't know at any given moment what in the world can happen. So we do need to, all LGBTQ plus families need to make sure we protect ourselves in every way possible. What if they do overturn the legalization of same-sex marriages? That would be in a really bad position. So I just think that doing second parent adoption just really protects us as always, no matter what, being considered our children's parents, both of us, for all three children. So
especially in the school system, doctor
visits. That was the only thing we had a little issue with Georgia is the school district registering our children.
I was going to ask if there was a difference between New York and Georgia. My assumption is yes, but I've heard a lot of people like where they're like, surprisingly, no, everything's great.
I mean, that's the only thing that we've encountered was just trying to, other than that, home owning, maneuvering, everything just seems very normal here. We're luckily in a great neighborhood with great neighbors and a community and support and all that great. So all of that was seamless. It was just the school district that didn't have a system to be able to put both of us as the parent unless we had adoption papers.
Oh, so what I was listening to recently was that like the birth certificate isn't a legal binding contract of like parentage.
It's not.
So even though you're both on the birth certificate, that's not like a document that holds up in court. Like say for instance, like one of us passes away, God God forbid.
Thanks.
And like, oh, fine, we'll say I pass away, whatever.
No. It's
And
fine.
the child that's biologically like tied to me has not been like second parent adopted by you, even though you're on that child's birth certificate. Like the legal custody of that child isn't like forthright, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, so I'm clarifying. Even though if we're both on the birth certificate, we still need to do a second parent adoption to have these like legal papers as like a backup.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know this. I am learning. Oh my God.
Because in the US, biology like trumps everything else, essentially, which is why straight couples, it doesn't really matter because it's like, oh, I'm biologically that person's parent.
Got it.
Which is also the struggle, I think, with the foster care system is that we value biology over like what's actually best for the child.
children.
So parental rights in the US trump like the rights of the child abundantly more. Yeah. Which I think we're gonna get maybe into potentially
it
later
just seems
at
like
some point.
nonsensical.
But yeah, it's pretty wild. So did your school district change like a policy or a form or anything?
I do feel like because now they do refer to us both as the parents. I think what we encountered was a lack of diversity in the area that we particularly live in, and particularly in this school district has never encountered a same couple.
Even the teachers, they're like, "You're the first."
Yes,
the first.
Yes, the teacher was very transparent and was like, this is the first time I've had a same-sex family in my classroom, because there are very specific pointed events. Like they have an all-pro dads event, they have a Mother's Day event, they have like these very specific events that teachers are like, okay, how do we approach this? And we don't mind because we love the full transparency. Like we're here to help educate. If it's your first time, it's totally okay. If it's your first time, thank you for letting us know. Clearly you care enough to talk to us to get it right.
Right. You can't fault a school district for just not having that, right? It's not like their fault that they don't have a same-sex couple, but how they respond to it is obviously quite important.
To hear that the response is at least positive, that they're trying.
That's it. We we will hold your hand and guide you through this process.
Yeah.
We will be that first.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah. And that's that.
So what I want you to do a little plug for your audio adventure with your podcast.
Yes. Okay. So if you want to continue to follow our journey, because like we said, we are still navigating a lot of different challenges, you can find us on Team2Moms on all platforms. We have embarked on a new journey of podcasting as well, which live. Thank you. Now
Team2Moms the podcast.
Team2Moms the podcast.
We're all streaming platforms.
Yes, ma'am. Let them know.
Wherever you get your podcast.
Wherever you get your podcast. And you can find the video format on a YouTube channel called Past Your Bedtime. They're the ones who are the support of us having our own podcast, the platform that is making it all come to fruition. And our podcast is about just highlighting experiences as we get older in life and just finding a voice for us on social media that, we're still here. It's a lot of the TV bloggers and the younger generation that's saying, and doing their thing, and we love to see it, but we can all coexist. So
I am obsessed with the millennial vibes of, I saw like the logo in the album artwork for the podcast and how like, yes, I'm like, oh yes, 90s child. I get it. Like, I love that.
Amazing.
Props to the production because they did an awesome job with the set. Yeah.
So yes, that's where you can find us.
We will be listening. I'm excited.
We just want to send a lot of love. We're always here for any support you need during the journey.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Like a lot, actually.
I think that's why we create the content, both of us. That's why we are creating the content and sharing our experiences to form community as well. And so we are always here if you need anything. And we wish you, we wish you so much success during your big journey. And just remember that there's going to be ups and downs, but you too have each
Together,
other.
yep.
You support each other through this whole thing, which I know that you guys are already doing. But at the end of the day, when you're at home, you're together, this is your support. This is support right here to get you through this journey. So because
I actually needed that reminder because lately it's been a lot.
It's a lot.
Surrogacy stuff. So it's kind of like we're going through it. Yeah. It's been messy.
It is.
You are continually told, right? Like, I think anybody, like straight couples who like getting pregnant and having kids, or like, you know, us going through surrogacy or IUI, IVF, or all the things, you know, you're like told it's bumpy, like there's lots of ups and downs, and then but like through the ups it's like great, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome, and then through the downs it's hard to like have the persistence and drive to be like scream, to be like, is this worth it? Like, it's like, am I just going to be doing this forever and like never going to end up with what I was hoping for? And then am I going to spend like half of my life savings just trying to do this process? And it's so stressful that way.
I saw you guys' recent posts and realizing you've gone through one part of the journey and now you're looking ahead at the other part of the journey,
daunting.
Financial responsibilities there.
Right.
Please don't get discouraged.
Oh, thank you.
I know it's a lot that you're putting out. Promise you, it all kind of just dissolves once you reach your goal.
Once it gets there.
It does. But you guys got this. You got this.
Well, thank you both for being here, for your knowledge, for your experience, for sharing.
If you like this episode, please leave them like a very heartfelt comment.
Seriously though,
give it this episode or our podcast
Team2Moms.
Rating, a follow. Follow their podcast. It'll be out by this point, and we're so excited. And I think it's so fun to like. I've discovered a few like queer family podcasts, and the surrogacy journey itself is so somewhat daunting and like a little bit nebulous, which is why I was like, I feel like we need to sit down and like have like hour-long discussions about this to try and like,
so we can learn
to like figure stuff out. And so I'm so excited that you guys are going to be able, you know, to bring your perspective to it as well as like two moms. So it's going to be it's just like visibility, and like people, when they want to go into these processes, they're like, oh, like we can listen to them. Like they've done this before. We're not the first gay moms like going through IUI at the clinic, you know, like so it's I'm excited.
You're also building a community of, even outside of the LGBTQ plus community, of just trying to conceive, right? So
oh my gosh, absolutely.
All people who struggle with infertility.
Well, thank you guys all for listening, and until next time,
Daddy's out.
Wait, they have to say mommy's out.
Yeah, say mommy's out.
1, 2, 3. Mommy's out!
Yay! Oh, I love that. That's fantastic.